I have never told this story to anyone in full, not because I lack the confidence, more because every time I start, I can see the other person's expression shift from curious to concerned, and I hate that, so I am writing it here. Among strangers who do not know my name. I was 10 years old. My mom had just remarried, and we moved into a bigger house on the edge of town. Brand new construction. Paint still clean. Floors that did not creak yet, and a yard full of tall trees whose branches covered almost half my bedroom window. I thought I would be happy there. My room was at the end of the hall. 2 large windows facing the backyard, and a closet twice the size of the one I had before. I loved that closet when I first saw it, deep enough to walk into and sit down inside. I never did that after the first night. Midnight, I woke up because of sound. Not a loud sound. The opposite, like fabric being slowly brushed. Like someone shifting clothes on a hanging rod inside the closet. Unhurried, patient. I lay still and stared at the closet door. I told myself new houses always make noise. Wood that has not yet adjusted to your weight. Air coming in from different vents. I believed that explanation because I needed that explanation. Then the door shivered. It did not swing open. It shivered once, briefly, like something had pressed a palm flat against the wood from the inside and decided not to push any further. My legs would not move. I did not run to my mom's room, not because I was brave, because my legs would not move. I lay there until I could not keep my eyes open anymore, still staring at that door, until exhaustion made the decision my fear could not. In the morning, the closet door was open, just a crack. I remembered closing it tight before bed. I remembered it specifically because I had done it deliberately. I asked my mom if she had come into my room during the night. She said no. She said maybe the air vent pushed it open. I did not argue, but I knew what the vent was. It was on the opposite wall from the closet door. A week later, the knocking started. Nighttime. The window. 3 slow knocks. A pause, then 3 more. Like something testing whether anyone was listening. I assumed branches. Made sense. The trees in the backyard were tall and full. But when I sat up and looked, no branches were anywhere near the glass. My room was on the 2nd floor. The nearest branch was too far to reach the window even on a windy night. The knocking kept coming over the next few nights. I learned to ignore it. Or more accurately, I learned to pull the blanket over my head and stay still until it stopped. Until one night, I decided to look. The hand was white. Not white like skin. White like something that had never been in sunlight. Pressed flat against the glass from the outside. 5 fingers, too long to belong to a normal human hand. Laid out flat against the surface. I knew it was impossible. 2nd floor window. No balcony. No tree close enough. No ladder that I could see. But the hand was there. I could not scream. I could not move. The hand did not move for several seconds that felt like several minutes. Then slowly, very slowly, it slid downward, leaving a faint smear on the glass, like a fingerprint being half erased. Then it was gone. I told my mom the next morning. She laughed. Not a cruel laugh. The laugh of an adult who was certain her child had just woken from a dream and had not fully come back yet. When she saw I was not laughing with her, her expression changed. She said maybe I had been half asleep. Maybe a shadow from the trees. Maybe my eyes were still blurry. My stepdad said I was making it up for attention. But that night, I noticed he left the hallway light on. He had never done that before. About a month later, my little brother, who was 4 at the time, started talking about the white lady. He said she came to his room at night and sat on the edge of his bed. My mom called it an imaginary friend, the kind of thing kids his age do. I said nothing. I already knew, since the hand on the window, that Whatever was in that house was not something you could explain away with the phrase, imaginary friend. Then one night, I heard my brother scream. Not cry, scream. A different sound. Higher, more desperate. I was running to his room before my mind had finished deciding to run. He was curled into the corner of his bed, blanket pulled up to his chin, crying the way people cry when they have already run out of voice. I sat next to him and waited for him to speak. He said the white lady had been standing in his doorway, just standing and staring at him. He said her eyes were black, not black like normal eyes, black like there was nothing there at all. After that night, she started coming into my dreams. She always stood in the corner of my room, not moving, just standing and watching. Her voice sounded like dry leaves rubbing together, and she called my name in that voice, soft and steady, like someone had been waiting a very long time and did not mind waiting longer. What kept me from convincing myself it was only a dream was that sometimes I would wake up and the voice was still there, faint, but there. One night, I woke up and she was standing at the foot of my bed, not in a dream. Her head nearly touched the ceiling. Her white dress moved even though the air was still. Her hair was black and fell in uneven strands across part of her face. What I could see of her face was chalk pale, and where her eyes should have been there were only 2 dark hollow spaces. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. I shut my eyes. 1 second. 2. 3. When I opened them, she was gone. But the closet door, which I had locked with a small latch for the past week, was open, wide open. I stopped going near that closet after that night. I asked my mom if I could sleep in her room. She said I needed to learn to be brave. I did not say what I was actually thinking, that maybe she was the one who needed to admit she was scared too. The worst night came during a storm. Heavy rain, wind loud against every surface. I woke up to the sound of the window creaking. The window was opening by itself, slowly. I could see the latch turning. No hand on it. The latch just moved, deliberate and steady, until it released, and the window swung inward from the force of the wind. Then she came in. She did not step through. Her feet never touched the floor. She drifted in like smoke that had a shape, and the shape was a woman who was too tall, wearing a dress that was too white. She floated toward my bed. She leaned down until her face was directly in front of mine. I felt the cold of her on my skin, not the cold of wind, something different, cold like something that had never had a temperature. She said my name, and after that I do not remember anything, not like fainting and waking up with a headache, more like a piece had been removed. One moment I felt her cold breath, and the next moment I was already screaming, and it was the sound of my own voice that finished waking me up. My mom and stepdad came running in. The light went on. The window was closed. Locked. No sign it had ever been open. They were angry that I had woken everyone up. But I watched my mom's hand tremble slightly as she checked the window latch. They took me to a therapist a few weeks after that. I did not mind going. I genuinely did not know anymore what was real and what was not. If someone could help me sort that out, I was willing. But session after session passed, and I never brought up the white lady again. Not because I was hiding it, more because I did not know how to explain something I could not even decide was real myself. My brother stopped mentioning the white lady after a few months. I was relieved at first. I thought maybe it had stopped. Then I started hearing him through the wall between our rooms. The same small sound repeating, "Go away, go away, go away." I never asked him about it. He never asked me. We both knew. And we both decided there are things better left unspoken between 2 people who share a wall. We lived in that house for 3 more years. 3 years is a long time to learn to live alongside something you cannot explain. You never really get used to it. You just learn its rhythm. when to close your eyes, when to stay quiet, when not to look at the corners of the room. What still stays with me is not the memory of the woman herself. What stays with me is the order of events. The hand on the window appeared almost a full month before my brother first mentioned the white lady. I had never told him about the hand. He was too young, and I did not want to scare him. There was no way he could have known what I had already seen, but what he described was consistent with what I had seen. I can accept the explanation of night terrors. I can accept stress from a move, a child acting out for attention, an overactive imagination. I spent years trying to adopt those explanations, but the hand on the window was real before there was any story to imagine. Now, when it rains hard at night, there is a small thing I do without thinking. I check the window latch. Twice, sometimes 3 times. Not because I still believe something is out there, more because my body has decided that checking the latch is a small price to pay to be able to sleep. And before bed, for reasons I cannot fully explain, I always close the closet door. All the way, I do not know what was in that house. I do not know if any of it was real. What I know is that I was 10 years old, and there was a hand outside a second-floor window on a still night. And not one explanation has ever satisfied me since. If you have one, I am listening, but I would not hold my breath. When I was about 9 years old, I lived with my mom and little sister in a small house in a quiet town. The street was mostly safe. Kids would ride their bikes outside in the summer. But even back then, there were things that didn't feel right about the house. My mom used to say it was old, and old houses make noises. But some of the things I remember from that time didn't sound like house noises. They sound like something else. Something I still don't really know how to explain. The first thing started one night when I couldn't sleep. I was lying in my bed with a blanket pulled up to my chin, staring at the little glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling. My room wasn't very big, just a bed, a dresser, and a toy chest near the window. I remember looking at the shadows on the wall from the trees outside. The branches swayed whenever the wind blew, and I told myself that's what I was seeing. But then I noticed one shadow wasn't moving like the others. It was in the corner, down low, near my toy chest. At first, I thought it was a pile of clothes or one of my big stuffed animals. I almost laughed at myself because I thought I was just being a scared kid, but then I blinked and the shadow was gone. I remember feeling cold, like the kind of cold that comes from the inside of your body, not the air. I pulled the blanket over my head and fell asleep. The next morning, I didn't even think about it. Not until I saw my toy chest. It was standing open, like someone had been looking inside. I never left it open because my mom would yell if toys spilled out. I closed it and didn't say anything. A few weeks later, my sister, who was only 5, told my mom she didn't like the man in the closet. I basically froze when she said it, because she said it so casually, as if it were just a fact. My mom brushed it off and said, "Little kids imagine things." But I saw my sister's face, and I could tell she wasn't making it up. She said he would stand in the closet at night and whisper, but she couldn't hear the words. My mom talked her in that night and said a prayer with her, but she didn't check the closet. Later that night, I woke up because I heard something dragging across my floor, like someone pulling their nails across the wood. I was too scared to move. The sound stopped, right by my bed. I was sure if I looked over the side, I'd see something staring up at me. I just froze there, clutching the blanket, until I fell asleep again. The next morning, there were long scratches on the floor, right by the side of my bed. They were fresh, like someone had carved into the wood. I remember running to show my mom, but she got angry She said I must have been playing with something sharp or dragging furniture. I swore I hadn't, but she didn't believe me. After that, the nights got worse. I would hear faint whispers, almost like a radio on low volume, and it would come from my closet. Sometimes my sister would cry in her room, and when I ran in, she would be pointing at the corner, saying, "He's there, he's there." I never saw him, but I believed her. You know, when someone's watching you and the hairs on your arms stand up? That's how it felt. The scariest night was in the middle of winter. I woke up and saw my bedroom door was open. Even though I always shut it, I could see the hallway light because my mom left one on for us at night. But then as I watched, the light in the hall went out. I thought maybe the bulb burned out. Then I heard footsteps coming down the hall. They stopped outside my door. I wanted to scream for my mom, but nothing came out. The door creaked, and I saw a tall, dark shape lean in, just its head poking into the room. I shut my eyes and pretended to be asleep. When I opened them again, the door was closed, and I was alone. In the morning, I asked my mom if she had come into my room. She said no. She had been asleep all night. My sister said she saw the man again, standing by her bed. We told my mom together, and she finally looked worried. She lit a candle and said a prayer in each room of the house. Things were quiet for a little while after that, but it didn't last. One afternoon, I came home from school before my mom. I was sitting on the couch doing homework when I heard the sound of the toy chest in my room. Slammed shut. Nobody else was home. I hoped it was just the wind, but when I walked down the hall, I saw my bedroom door was wide open. My toy chest was closed, but all my toys were scattered on the floor, like someone had dumped them out. I backed away and waited outside until my mom came home. When I told her, she still didn't believe me. She said the cat knocked things over. Years later, after we moved out, I asked my mom if she ever experienced anything in that house. She hesitated, then said yes. She said sometimes she would wake up and see a shadow standing in her doorway. She said she never told us because she didn't want to scare us. But she admitted she believed there was something wrong with that house. She said she thought it was a man, someone who used to live there. She never said much more. But I know what I saw, and I know what my sister saw, too, even now as an adult. When I think about that time, I feel sick in my stomach. It wasn't imagination. It was something real, and it wanted us to know it was there. Sometimes, late at night, when I can't sleep, I still hear the sound of nails dragging across the floor.